I will say this is the very first time that we've done a tutorial like this on our new data management system. Uh, I am the co-lead of DUNE Data Management. I've been very much involved with deploying the system. Uh, Things are not perfect yet. We're still sort of in the transition between the two, but there are we have enough that we want everybody for any new data that's being taken to use the new system. And so we're going to cover that exclusively. First of all, why do we care about data management and accurate physics results? If you've heard Aaron Aguirre talk at any collaboration meeting, you know that we have to have the fair, findable, accessible, interpretable, reproducible principles and our things of data. And we have DUNE physics analysis review procedures that says your software must be documented and committed to a repository accessible to the collaboration. Any repository managed within the official DUNE GitHub organization is perfect. There are rules about copyright. Tom will cover those later. Uh, and license rather about what your code should be. Um, and then our data and simulation samples must come from well-documented, reproducible production campaigns. For most analysis, input samples should be official catalog DUNE productions. There are various of us in the computing people have representatives on the publication board and on the speaker board. If we see analysis coming out of left field of something that's not reproducible, we will raise complaints. We've done it before, so being forewarned is forearmed on that. Uh, so how do we do it? Our doing official data samples are produced using release code, which is cataloged with metadata describes the processing chain. So in Dune, you'll hear a lot about. I'll turn on my video a second here. You can see me at least. So in Dune, you will hear a lot about metadata. And metadata can mean different things depending on who's talking. So if you hear me talk, I focus on basically file metadata. And that's what we're talking about here, the Metacat data catalog. I apologize, I got at least three different capitalizations in this tutorial. The correct capitalization is capital M, capital C, Metacat. We have not fixed that everywhere yet. Um, so the Metacat data catalog itself is meant to say what is the file, what kind of file is it, when was it taken, by what means was it taken, if it's raw data, it was produced, yeah, by offline, then what version of the offline, what version of Dune SW, it was Monte Carlo, further, what generator files, um, etc. The goal is to try to keep that we have as clean a record of that as possible. Now, I think if we had to go back 6 years to reconstruct Monte Carlo Challenge 10 or 11, we'd be hard put to do it now. But that is the goal, to be replica. So when I talk about metadata, I'm only talking about what is the file, where is the file. If you hear Anna Pavlovskaya talk about metadata, she'll talk about all the stuff in conditions database too. We'll come to that. If you hear somebody like Josh Klein in the trigger thing, he will actually throw even more stuff in metadata. So just to say for purposes of this talk, we're talking only about the metadata of data files, or in this case, data sets. Um, so we have Metacat, which is what is the file. We have Russia, which is where is the file. But more importantly, Russia will also get the file to where it's supposed to be if it's not there. All right. Then we have the legacy SAM data access system that only older files are available in now. We're not putting any new data files into SAM. All right. That's the introduction. If you want to access data, this will help you find it and examine it. If you want to process the data using the full power of DUNE computing, you should talk to data management for cataloging any data files. If you're doing something big, you should also talk to the production group so they can help you. A lot of times we only see rogue productions when they break something. All right. So what is Metacat? So Metacat is a file catalog, allows you to search for files that have particular attributes. And in fact, it also allows for querying jointly the file catalog and the DUNE's conditions database. So anybody who was on ProtoDune knew we took just about anything into file metadata, voltages and um, beam energies and bias voltage, bias currents, and all that was just thrown into SAM. Going forward, we're not doing that anymore. If it's got units, it shouldn't be in Metacat unless those units are bytes or seconds since the epoch. All right. Uh, Anything that's used in a physical calculation, be it high voltages, be it bias calculations, be it space charge mapping, be it beam energy, etc. That's all in the conditions database, which is not covered in this tutorial, but we'll be late. Eventually, we're going to have to do that. Uh, there is a tutorial available that Apollo's made on the database, but typically not in this series. Okay, general Metacat documentation. This is in fact excellent Metacat documentation. Let's just bring it up. Oh, come on. So you can see it. We got to read the docs.io of very good quality, very good quantity. Every method in the API is described in horrific detail. All right. And then we have Dune Metacat examples, which are here. Yeah, come on. Open a new tab. Come on. There we go. This is our Dune data catalog documentation. Uh, and this is what you should be looking at if you have a new kind of production. For instance, when the near detector, the Minerva 2x2 ran, they had to do this. They had to figure out how are they going to make their metadata, etc., to feed into Metacat. So this is one example of what does the file look like? What do all these parameters mean? Which ones are required? Which ones are optional? Uh, uh, this is a little bit old, but I mean, it's an old file, but the format holds still holds the same. Uh, so what do you see in Metacat? You see there are top level things, name, namespace, checksum, size. These are parameters that exist for all. Uh, these are parameters that exist for all files. Then you have a dictionary called metadata, which is everything else. You will recognize, any of you who are familiar with SAM will recognize that there are a lot of things that were top level things in SAM that are now core dot something. So core dot data stream, the big ones, core dot data stream, which can be physics or cosmics or so forth. Core dot data tier, which can be raw or hit reconstructed or full reconstructed. Uh, there is file format. Raw data files now are HDF5. Um, Offline files are still typically root. File type is either detector or Monte Carlo. You have to pick one. And then the run type, this is a little bit confusing. The run type is basically the detector type. So everything that was taken by ProtoDune SP is ProtoDune SP. Everything that was taken, the new one is called HD-ProtoDune. It's backwards, I know, but it is that way. Uh, the one MP02, the vertical drift is VD-ProtoDune, far.hdvd. You have runs, which can in theory be a list. You can have more than one run in the same file, especially if you're merging stuff. Subruns in ProtoDune are not used, but eventually in Dune they will be. Uh, because we anticipate eventually that the configuration of the detector may change in the middle of a run. Retention class, the retention status is active. Once we try to retire this file, it will go to retired. Retention class is physics. Physics is the data that has to be retained the longest. Uh, Not indefinitely, but right now in our plan, we say 100 years. So uh, there's a lot of stuff in the Metacat examples. Ping me if I'm running low, if I'm going long on my time. All right. So here we've got a specific. So you can query from the command line or you can query from the web UI. So as I was saying here, core run type is the experiment, core file type is MCR detector, typo there. Core data tier is level of processing. And then data stream will be physics, calibration, cosmics, can be noise also, can be test. And the core runs, well, this is one way to do it. Not the only way, but it works. All right. Uh, so I want to make sure you Medicat, all these clients I'm talking about, Medicat or Rusio or whatever, are available either in the SL7 container in CVMFS, the old way with UPS setup, or they're also available in SPAC. Um, I want you guys to try this example to see how far away we are from working.
Yeah, it's a mixed example. It's got SL7 and SL SPAC
You,
commands in it. So
if you have your Aptainer already, you do this. If you're working on set, you cannot run Dune SW without having an Aptainer right now, but you can do a lot of these data management things without starting up an Aptainer. And I personally hate containers with a purple passion, so I'm working almost entirely in OMA 9 these days. Uh, 'Cause I'm not doing analysis on a regular basis. Um, so I'm going to shift my screen share a second just to show you that these commands do work and we're not just playing with you. Famous last words. And logging
we're
in as,
not seeing the screen. We're
oh,
seeing
sorry.
you.
Yes, yes, well, coming. 1 second. Logging in as myself. Okay. I'm setting up my spec environment. And then I do spec load RM PD config experiment. We're not covering much on spec today in this tutorial, unfortunately,
It
but
was covered in the setup, which people should
right,
have read.
right. But I've got a Medicat now. They give me Medicat, they give me Rusio. Uh, so now I should be able to log into Medicat. Again, I'm logging in as Tim, who is not a super user. And yours, this would just be your services password. The same one you have to use. Okay. So I'm logged in now.
Yeah, people should be trying to do this.
So I am authenticated as Tim.
Can you
Let's
make
try
that screen larger? Just to type in the screen mainly.
how's that? Is it better?
Well, just you can make the font larger so people can read it.
Well, I am doing that as
Oh, okay, I see. Good point.
every time I do a control plus, it makes the font larger and it makes the window bigger. All right, so
Great.
let's try this next query that's here. Run 27296. I was there that day. You should
Yeah,
probably
have people actually have people actually gotten set up so that you can type if you type setup or spec load Metacat, it
everybody,
works. Raise your paws if that works
I
for
cannot
you.
see all the pause, but yes, let's wait here, make sure people have got it.
I'm not seeing very many paws.
Run 27296 was one of the last. Cosmic
Okay.
runs we took on the night before the DUNE HD beam came when I was on shift at night.
Okay. Ethan says he's got it, but everybody else seems to be
Okay, then we
not
need to know
not
where are you
not
stuck.
here
If
yet.
you don't get this, then the rest of the tutorial is not going to give you much. So
So
let's
when
go
I
ahead
do
and
the
set the
setup, it seems to work, but when I get, type MetaCat, it fails to me as, let me read it.
Did you set those
As a prop,
environmentals?
did I?
The export things. You need those.
I thought so, yeah, but let me check. Let me check, yeah.
these two have to be set, otherwise we will not know what server to contact. Uh, the spec load RMDD config does it all for you, but otherwise, if you don't do that, then you have to do set up Metacat, and then you have to export these
MetaCat server
two
URL.
Metacat server URL, Metacat auth server URL.
Okay, I don't think I did that.
I can't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
Slack right
yeah.
now
Now
because
I see.
my browser is busy
So,
sharing.
in my in the documentation I'm looking at, it says set up first, then MetaCap auth, and then is the export. So you are
Yeah,
saying I
yeah.
need to turn that around.
No,
Okay.
no, no. It shouldn't be. Order shouldn't be. Oh, yes,
Well, the auth login is in the wrong
yeah, yeah,
place.
yeah.
Yes.
The order does
Yeah.
in fact matter.
Okay.
Yes. So this is in
Yeah.
fact a typo. If somebody will please notify, we'll fix it next time. The export
Because
should be ahead of the
I did
Metacat
it
auth login. Otherwise, it
I
doesn't
did it in the
talk
same
to.
order, and then the MetaCap
Yeah,
cat, the third line would give
yeah,
me
yeah,
errors.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you? Yeah. Apologies on that. Somebody please make a note of that in the live doc, so we'll fix this next time. Thank you, Peter.
So setup MetaCat works, but spec load MetaCat doesn't work.
One
Well,
is it says if using Alma 9. Those are two different
okay.
operating systems. Yeah,
This,
I
I'm
see.
going to split that into two different sets of instructions.
yes. Right. So if you already started an Apptainer and Kirby session
Okay.
already, then do set up Metacat instead. Right. And did anybody get which version do you want if you did a spec load Metacat, if you tried this?
I did, yes.
Okay, so yes. Spec doesn't know anything about current versions, but thanks to the fact that we have Mark Mengel around here, he managed to make a product called RMDD config that knew all the various latest, that always knows the latest version of Metacat Rusio and everything else for purposes of metadata. Um,
Oh, that's the old spec packages area that has it.
which old spec
Two.
package?
Yeah,
No.
let's not get into these details with the students.
Uh,
Just
This
the
is the one.
basic thing is
This
SPAC
is the one that's in
occasionally.
our tutorial.
Yeah.
We are going to move off of this eventually. This will not always be the same. It will not always be under Larsoft OpenSanskrit.org, but it is right now. Okay. All right. All right. Who has successfully Metacat off logged in? Who has not? I am. There's a lot of chat following here. Ivana, please go ahead.
I have not. So I invite one setup is from Mike's setup from the previous
Yes. Okay.
part, and it tells on Alma 9 spec command not found.
Okay.
And
You have to set up the SPAC environment.
okay, and another trial tells me MetaCat matches multiple packages.
Okay. So then you have to. All right. So if you just say spec load Metacat, it gives you all the latest ones. You need a version. Yes, exactly right. And the one you wanted is Metacat. So this thing that says spec load Metacat should, if you're gonna just set a Metacat, it should be like that.
Okay.
Spec load. If you just want to load Metacat and the rest of that stuff, then you have to actually specify the version. And you can do that one of two ways. You could do it like that, or you could do spec load Metacat. And you just type the hash, which is a little bit shorter. If you're cutting and pasting anyway, it really doesn't matter. Uh, if you're in UPS UPD, the newest Medicaid, you'll have a 3.42 something, but it's all recent enough. Okay. All right. I'm gonna look ahead a second here. I don't think that we actually have in here how to log into the web UI. No, we don't.
Yeah, I think that was because for time.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's,
When we get to the end of that, I'll show you because there is actually a very good web UI for Medicaid too, which you can do a lot of the things you really need to do. All right. So anybody who's still stuck on logging in, oh, here, David throws the exception oh, great. All right, congratulations, David. You win $100 worth of Fermi stock.
oh, that's not nice.
Uh, David, you pasted a first line of an exception into thing, and here, oh, he also said that there was an exception. You could put the longer exception into the live doc. We do not have the first line is not enough to tell us anything of the stack
I
trace.
put the full exception in the live doc.
Yeah, if you've got a long exception, please put them in live chat. And
Or like the live doc.
live doc, yes.
Yeah, chat won't let you.
Yeah. I can't. David Venegas Ferrero posted the first line of a traceback. That means nothing.
So,
But
so,
you
so
have
I
to,
think that's the one I saw too when I didn't have the exports. So maybe, David, you want to try putting those two export commands first?
very good. All right. So the goal of this is that we did a query, say limit two, so that gives us only two files. There would be several thousand files in this run otherwise. DUNE all is the sum total of everything that's in Metacat. All files in Metacat, the way we've set it up, belong to DUNE all. For core file type equals detector, so this is actually data from the detector. Run type HD proto DUNE, core data tier raw. You can search on dates in here if you want. And advanced thing is you can actually also combine this with conditions things. So let's find out about one of these files. I believe the reason I picked this run, like I say, is I was on shift 6 months ago. I was working on the thing and I had needed something to do. All right, so Metacat file show -m -l that. Okay, all right. Okay. So this is an important part of things here. -m means show the metadata. This is a stylized version of the metadata. You could also get a -j to get it in JSON format. Uh, it shows all the events in the file, and you see typically they're split up. Um, we're writing typically 8 files at once out of Proton DAQ. So this one's got 3, 7, 11, and so forth. Other ones would have different skips of data, of events. Um, and now you see this has children. So Jake has tried to process this file several times, succeeded. And these are all the various runs of keep up processing that go back to processing this file. It has no parents because it is a raw data file. But so the -l thing shows the provenance, the parents and children. -m shows the metadata. All right. All right, we're gonna have to keep going because I know we have to get to Tom yet this morning too.
But it's important that we try to find and fix people's problems as we go along,
Yeah, yes.
even though it's kind of large with this number of people. Don't
Right.
get frustrated. Ask.
All right. Uh, All right, so now we have a summary file. So let's do that. I don't know if anybody who's used to SAM syntax, you have to get used to putting equals again in your things, and you have to remember to put core dot whatever here. So in run 27296, we had 963 files. It was 4 TB worth of stuff. Every file, every data file coming out of program is 4 GB, so almost 1,000 files here. All right. So now let's see. Well, let's go to the next step. Okay. I'm gonna stop a couple minutes and I'm gonna check the live doc, see if anybody else got questions here. And oh, here we go. Here's the whole Medicat URI import main. Yeah, yes, this is okay. I should have noted that. So this is from the inside of Heidi says the Stranger Version Python is exactly right. Uh, Particularly that comes with running Medicat with a version of Python that's too old.
And generally it means that you don't have the Dune.
If you
You
didn't-
probably don't have Dune soft. Well, you don't have the. Well, you have
Oh.
UPS.
No,
So
so you if you're just saying a Medicat and not the rest of Dune SW, then you need to add a setup Python setup
good point.
v3 915. Which if you set up Dune SW, you'll get that. But if you don't have you don't have Dune software set up, then you don't have that. So yeah, this error
Yeah, that was
happened.
part of the setup. And if you haven't redone the setup, we'll add that to it. But
Yes, this is
good point.
this error is consistent with trying to run Medicat under Python 2, which you cannot do. Okay. That's also true for Rusio. Rusio can't run on anything less than Python 3.9. And it would really like 3.10 or 3.11 if they could get it. All right. Okay, so that's all the Medicat exercises that we're going to do. While you continue working on your Medicat exercises. Sequential access mediator is and was a data handling system that was developed at Fermilab, originally for D0, later taken over by CDF, later taken over by the neutrino experiments. Has been replaced by the combination of Medicat and Rusio. It took really took three things to replace it. Because Sam also had a rudimentary project management thing here. We're not declaring any new files to Sam anymore. Any SAM locations after June of 2024 should be presumed to be wrong. So if you say if you call SAM locate file on any raw data that's been taken in HT protein, you'll get the wrong answer. But SAM is still using some legacy protein analysis. We're trying to find out what they are and transition as soon as we can. Um, all right. I'm going to go on unless there are. Oh, Ignato says not working for you. We tried in the obtainer in AL9. I'm not able to continue. Okay. Export suggested by Kate is not working. Okay, maybe we should take a minute here. Ignatos, can you give us even some hint of what error you're seeing? We know these errors because we made them all ourselves at some point in time. So usually, if you put out something on the live doc or whatever, we can figure out. Sunny, please.
Yes. So in this new tutorial, it would be good to, give, what environmental setup should go to be able to use MetaCat.
Yeah, and there's confusion because we have two incompatible client things, etc. Um,
Yeah, I mean, because in the previous tutorial, I set up that environment. And, when I try this, Retacat, it
But that
doesn't
should
work.
still work. The point is, if you had the right environment set up and it was working in the thing, if you continue in that, we should still be able to make this go. So if you can't do that, let us know. I mean, if you've got an SL7 Eptainer, all this should work from inside the Eptainer with the UPS products of Medicat and Rusio. And if it's not working, we need to know that. So don't be quiet or don't think it's something you did wrong. I mean, this is new stuff, and how can you set up Python? Set up Python in the interpreter. Sorry, I'm in the wrong window, but I can answer that. Set up Python v3 915. Yes. Without the capital S. Thank you. Autocorrect. Excuse me. Okay. So as I mentioned, Medicat is telling you what the file is. Rusio is telling you where it is and or to get them there. And so Rusio's basic unit is what's called a DID, a data identifier. Gosh, I didn't catch this right. This will work as it is, though. It's okay.
Yeah, just a major motivational thing. The reason we're doing all this is that we have something like 30 petabytes of data out there. And the whole point of Medicate is that you can find any file based on its characteristics.
Right.
And those characteristics are what detector did it come from,
Right.
what were the running conditions, which run number was it, how much processing has been done on it, what file did it come from, what version of code was used to make it. All of that allows you to make highly granular searches in this huge number of, millions of files. That's why we have to do this. We're not just doing this to torture you.
All right.
I got the Medicaid login successfully after setting the Python 3.
Oh, you got that? It says it worked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Kritika didn't ask for the you have to replace if you did your setup right, this in chat. Medicat login Kim $user. It says the server must be specified using -s thing. So there were two exporting there were two variables exported. I remind you, you can't talk to the Medicat server unless these two variables are set. So critique, okay. David says does not work to set up Python. You put the output in live doc. Okay, somebody can look at that. Yeah. I mean, there are things that we do every day and that we're used to just automatically doing for it. Once we have to put it in a very systematic way, we find a lot of corner cases. I appreciate you guys bringing these up, and please keep talking. All right. The applicator. Okay, so that is still the wrong Python. For David still got the wrong Python somehow. I'm not sure how that happens. There's something.
Yeah, David, please post the full list of commands you did to do the setup.
Either that or unfortunately, start over again.
Yeah,
so when I tried to do metadata first without the exports and then did the export and tried Metacat again, it didn't work. And I had to log out and had to log back in. And
okay,
then
so
do you have UPS overrides set in the container?
No, this is happening that somebody's trying to launch Elma 9 back from inside of the container. That's what's happening with David. So yeah, you just log out, start over again, and our deepest apologies for having the two things confused, but this is it's wanting libus SO.3, which would only be there in Elma 9. We're trying to, this is trying to, yeah, so this is just underscoring that we got to get to one OS or the other because we're going to keep on having confusion like this. All right. If you permit me, I'm going to actually move ahead on the Rusio part. All right. I'm following the spec instructions, but don't spec load anything from inside of a SL7 after container will not be pretty. Uh, even though I already have Rusio loaded from the earlier commands I did. If you did the RMDD config, you have everything. Okay. So my Rusio account, oh, it's blank. Okay, interesting. Let me redo that. So you do need a KX509 proxy to talk to Rusio. Making sure I still have it. I do. Okay. Got that. Rusio list. But at the moment, Rusio is set up for anybody in production. Rusio is read only right now. We will eventually change that so that people will have a user space to write into, but that's going to be a while. So this one command is bringing out, so I mentioned that you have a Rusio DID. What is a DID, first of all? I should add this into the text in the tutorial for next time. DID is a scope, colon, and a name. So every Rusio thing has a scope and a file name. Scope colon file name. Follows you better not have any colons in your file name. All right. Now we're asking to list file replicas. So what is a replica? So one logical file in Rusio can have several replicas all the way around the world. For our raw data, we have two replicas. For our analysis data, typically we have one replica on tape and one somewhere on disk. It's our goal to have two, but we don't necessarily have room to do that at the moment. PFN, what is a PFN? PFN is a physical file name, okay? And then protocols. So why protocols equals row? We'll show you. Okay. Um, so this particular file lives in three different places. One at NICHEF, one at FNDCA1 on tape backed. If you see tape backed in there, you know it's in tape backed, and one on CERN tape. Ignore the CERN tape one. Nobody on this, no non-privileged users can read CERN tape. So if you see EOCTA public or you see CERN Castor or whatever, forget about that. It's not accessible to you. All right, so the goal is that we can. So why do we show the root protocol? There are two protocols that we deal with most of the time. They're either called HTTPS or it's called root. Root is preferable if you're reading, and rootio by default will return the root one preferentially if you're going to read. If you're going to either XRDCP or if you're going to open the file in Larsoft using the root thing, this is what you would do. All right. We could copy the file to local disk. Don't do that unless there's a really, really good reason, or access the file via xroot. Sometimes you see a save access by xroot, or sometimes it's access by a root. The server is called xrootd, the protocol is called xroot, but the URL you typically just has root colon on there. All the same thing. Interestingly enough, it does not actually have to be a file that's written by root to be read by the root protocol. Tom will get to how they actually do that, or maybe not in this tutorial, but in the larger tutorial, we do that. All right, so we can list all the raw files for a given run. This is another Metacat query. All right. A lot of them, right? We're going back to Metacat here a second, but we're going to do a mix thing here quickly. All right, so what do we got? This is run 5141. This was taken during the first ProtoDune run. And it gives them to me. You notice it does not give them to me in any particular order. I can add that to, and this becomes important. I'm not actually sure why Metacat picked this particular order. It must actually be ordering by file ID, the order they were declared, and not any alphabetical order. But unless you have the ordered thing, then the order of a Metacat query is not always. And if you're wanting to take a limit and get only so many, you can do limit, you can do skip. So you see these list of files, and here in Metacat, we call this a namespace. In Unity, we call this a scope. But it's the same thing, and that is the matching thing. So if I want to get a single file name in Metacat or in Rusio, it's this same identifier, namespace colon name or scope colon name, as the case may be. Can we find something that's reconstructed? Okay, I think we can. I know I'm going fast here.
There's a data management channel in Slack. So if you have questions about this, you can ask us.
Right, yes. All right, so what did we do here? Now I have core file type detector as before. I have core run type ProtoDune SP. Core data tier full reconstructed. And core data stream equals physics. And core runs any. And okay. So the full reconstructed, this is the difference here. Okay. And we try to be reasonable in the way we name our names. So we have Rico1 in the thing. And we try to make our scopes make sense and be humanly readable. We're not perfect, but we try. And for anything recent, we actually have the timestamp in the file of the time it was actually created. That tends to make each file name unique. All right. So how do I actually use this? To access data, XRD is the tool to use. Only work with the file stage to the disk. Somewhere we actually put that. I'm checking, see. Sunny, sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead, please.
Yes. If we want to find the record zero data, what should be typed?
There is no Rico 0 in Fire Detector or ProtoDune. ProtoDune has Rico 1 and Rico 2.
Yeah, okay. So then it's
So
not really reconstructed then. I mean, if
right.
you
So Rico 1 typically our condition is ProtoDune was a long time ago. But say, for instance, I do FARDAT. We did big production for the FARDAT horizontal drift. And there we have Rico 1 was hit reconstructed, and then Rico 2 is full reconstructed, which includes all the machine learning stuff at the tail end of it and so forth. And typically nowadays, what they're doing is they're doing the Rico 1 up to hit reconstructed. They're using some amount of that to train their neural net, and then they go ahead and do the second part, which is Rico 2. And then eventually we keep the Rico 1, but we don't keep it on disk for once the pass is done. So
How do you tell the difference between Rico 1 and Rico 2 in a query?
Yes, that's the
yeah, that's what
question.
I'm going for. So I'll do it, but I have to do it in a different.
It might be just better to give Rico 1 and Rico 2 in the query
Well,
instead of
certainly
fully
for that,
reconstruct.
certainly for that, Sunny, unfortunately. Um,
We should list the run types. Info and run types.
I'll show him in a minute. We can do that. And just to show you that it can be done. DUNE campaign. So that's the other thing. Any big thing, any big production campaign we have is equal. I'm going by memory here. Hopefully I get something. Yes, I did. Okay, great. So this is the first 10 of the Rico 1 of that sample, and then if I go to full reconstructed, I can get that too. Oh, no, I can't. That's great. All right, so I don't want to go too far.
Is it fully reconstructed instead of fully reconstructed?
No, it's full. It's supposed to be full reconstructed.
Fully.
If you'll permit me in a little bit, I'll get to the GUI and I'll show you such a data. We do have a full reconstructed data set. So the goal is that for most users, you're going to know a public data set name and you're going to read from that. Somebody reloaded the page, so I got a little bit constructed. I was wondering why were we going back to Metacat, but that was why. So there is a Justin Ruscio Metacat tutorial, which has been given to a couple of physics groups so far.
I think we need to move
Where
on
it's
and do
available.
the Ruscio query.
I did it.
Oh, okay, we've done the Ruscio query. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but what I want to do here while I have the time, and we should actually add this to the thing.
Yeah, it just we don't have the time and we have to go on to Tom pretty soon.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So let me just show this a second here. Uh, Metacat does have a web UI, and you have to log into that with your name and your services password. Hopefully nobody is sniffing my keyboard while we do that because it's a very powerful password. Uh, I'm going to snoop into Aaron Higuera's namespace because it's where he does it. He makes it in his own namespace first before he puts it in the public one. So this is the kind of thing that we do just to show you that we really do have full reconstructed stuff out here. Well, for instance.
yeah, the best way to find production is to ask the production team
Right.
if you can't find it.
Right. But in general, all these data sets are actually available, and there's actually a new public page that's in process that one of our own students is working on right now. But this is the kind of query that is actually the production data set. I don't know if you can read it, it's pretty small type. Application name Rico 2. Oh, so we actually do have a Rico 2 tagged in the Medicare query that we can query on. Okay. So it beat on me because I needed quotes around the dashed things. Rico 2 was a different thing. Okay. That's easy enough. Yeah, they do have very good. All right, so, but there are many things you can do here, including seeing what all the namespaces are, and those correspond to the detector types. Who are all our users? Fire.hd, Fire.vd. DUNE is the sort of catch-all one for all the old stuff. HD Pro, DUNE, HD Coldbox, LB&E for really, really old stuff. Near detector, LAR charge light, Minerva, Pro DUNE SPs, Rico and Monte Carlo, VD Coldbox. Those are the big ones right now. Just by giving this tutorial for the first time, I thought of a few other things that should be in it, but we do not have more time right now. So I will yield my time. I will watch the Slack. I'll probably, however, have to go before time is done.
Yeah, I think we need to take another 5-minute break and then transition over to Tom. And
All right.
people can ask questions during the break, and we'll try to fix things up for people. By the way, in the extras, one of the things people could do during this break is in the extras at the top of the tutorial, there is a sample SL7 and a sample AL9 setup. I would almost suggest that what people should do is they should log out, start a new window on a new machine, and exercise, just copy and paste those setups into their session. And that should solve most of these problems. They go through everything. One of the things that's happening is that people, you did the setup as part of the setup a couple days ago, and some of these scripts are assuming you've already done that. So
Yeah,
so
so
try doing that.
the problems seem to start if you do a SPAC setup, then in that same terminal, you launch an apptainer and start doing SL7. I was able to reproduce some of those problems, but if you're doing the container bit, if you do that from a fresh shell without doing the Alma 9 setups, everything's fine. So if you want to do both, I would have two separate windows.
I was able to grab a file with the spec.
Yeah, a lot of things are just you're running in a account that's just got too much crap in it from doing other things, and sometimes just starting over.
Some things were a little rocky though.
Yeah, I've got both working fine. It's just like I say, don't set up one in and then try to also do the other in the same window.
Yeah,
That causes trouble.
running SL7 stuff in 9 or 9 and 7 is just the recipe for disaster. And if you ever see Python version things, or if you see glibc things or whatever, that's a hint. That's what's happening.
So strong suggestion for everybody: just log out, log back in again. Although I guess I'm telling people to set up a different version of DUNE software, so we may need to work on that. But
it would be great that, each tutorial contains, complete, environmental settings.
That's what I just said is that they are actually in the extras, and we actually have them, and the setup that people did ahead of time was supposed to walk people through it. Although I will say that I don't think the Metacat ones were in there, but the ones in extras actually do have all of that information in them.
So UPS and SPAC are designed to get around these setup issues where you have a complete environment all set up for you with just one or two commands. But there's an issue if you have to type a password at some point, and you can't just package it all up in one setup command because of authentication. That was one of my problems when I was cutting and pasting from the tutorial. Is that I pasted too many lines in, and I ended up with one other line being interpreted as my password.
Ooh.
If can you put the web UI, Medcat web UI link in the Zoom chat?
Oh, sure. Oh,